Okay, let's get to this next thing. This is interesting, man. The Pac-12 announced something that really doesn't exist until now, late last week. So, according to this thing I read from ESPN, the Pac-12 has partnered with Twitter, Open Doors, and a company called Tempus Ex Machina. I think I'm saying that right. And I think Ex Machina is
Movie.
the movie where the robot kills you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe this won't go well, but okay. The idea is cool. So basically, this will allow Pac 12 football players to monetize their highlights from games. So when I just say that, what is your initial reaction?
My initial reaction is I want these guys to get paid for their stuff. I do. But we've already watched here at OU. There's way too much of the guys can't wait to post their highlights. Because how's it work now? The team after game sends the guys like their highlight clips and highlight pictures, right? And then they can tweet them out or Instagram however they want to, right? They don't get paid for it, at least previously. I don't know that there's a deal for it now. But I know that there's always this rush for the guys to get it out, which I get it to a certain degree. But then there's always, depending on the game, there's fans ready to pounce. Like, why,
So
win or lose, like there's always going to be fans ready to pounce.
so that's
Your own
interesting.
fans.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. So this is how it'll work. Tempest Ex Machina will send a player his highlights from a game. The player will tweet the highlight video and use this program that Twitter's got. They will put ads before the video plays, and the player will make money off those ads. And I believe I read for posting 2 highlights per week, players that are approved for this program will get $1,250 and a
That's awesome.
percentage of the program's revenue. Now, I think it may be 1,250, like just a one-time payment. It said 1,250 total. So I didn't know if that
Okay.
was like each time or that
I
was
was about
just
to
one.
say, if you get 1250 a week for posting 2 highlights, like that is money.
That would be awesome. So, which tells you that that's probably not how it works. But they will get a percentage of the revenue this program brings in, which is pretty cool. But there's one very interesting sentence in that ESPN article. Just one catch. They will have to post the highlights if they're enrolled in this program, whether their team wins or loses.
Yeah.
That could create, and just think about it. Remember, we're talking Pac 12. You and I both think USC is going to go to Utah and get their ass kicked.
Right.
And I think that game's in the middle of October. If Caleb Williams goes and plays at Utah, throws a couple interceptions, and they get beat down, and then a couple hours later is putting out a highlight tape from it, that would just create a very bad situation for that young man. So get your money, but listen,
Yeah.
if I'm one of these guys and I'm like, hey, if we get our ass whooped, I don't want to be putting out highlights.
Send me the highlight of me throwing the interception. Like, I'll just post that. Right. Hey, because you know exactly what's going to come of it. Oh, yeah. Why don't you post that terrible decision that you made in the third quarter or the sack you took or, whatever it might be. Absolutely. But hey, you know what? If you're going to get paid and you're willing to take the money, you got to take the bad with the good, right?
Yeah, I just and the reason I'm using Caleb Williams is because he's kind of he's the most famous guy out there, right? In the Pac-12 now, he plays the most the most scrutinized position with him being a quarterback. But I just thought of it. I was reading it. I was like, oh, this sounds awesome. Everything is about this. This is great. And then I got to that sentence. So I was like, oh no, That is, but I guess they get that criticism one way or the other,
Yeah.
right? People are still going to tweet at them and tell them how bad they suck anyways. So
I
might as
feel
well throw
like,
a couple highlights and get told you suck.
was it last year that we had something like that that came up where guys were, maybe it was a couple years ago. I don't know. Yeah. There is guys are going to do this. There's no doubt. That's good money for not really having to do anything, right? So it's going to happen. But the teams that can resist stuff like this as long as possible are, I think, going to end up being better off. This is part of it. This is where the sport's going. You've got to get used to it. But the longer teams can have the focus on we instead of me and my highlights, and you start posting highlights that get, you know, you make a first down catch, you post the highlight, it might get, let's call it 5,000 views, right? You post the touchdown to go ahead in the third quarter, now that one might get 50,000 views. You catch the touchdown as the clock expires to win the game against whatever your rival opponent, now that one gets 1 million views. So as all that stuff starts to happen, well, guess what? I make more money off of more views. I need more views. How do I get more views? You know what I'm saying? And I just, you deal with that in the NFL, and I understand it, but I have, those things have a tendency to be able to tear teams apart if they're not done properly, addressed properly, and, you know, to a certain degree, kept in check to some degree. But, you know, that's all theory. We'll see how it plays out. It may not matter at all, and you may have guys, you know, posting and making a ton of money off of highlights, and it doesn't affect the team atmosphere at all.
Yeah, and I think this could be used for good for some of these star players. Like if you're Caleb Williams or you're Cam Rising at Utah, who by the way, he was really good for them when he took over as the starter last
Yeah.
year. I mean, really good. If you're those guys, I think you go to your O line and you say, hey, they're probably I'm gonna enroll in this. Whatever I bring in, I'm splitting it with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Or so, just something like that, or maybe the entire offense, or maybe you use it on like an offense dinner, or so, just something where, you know, and we've seen it with Dylan Gabriel, where the NIL stuff it can be used to bring the team closer together. Maybe that's what they end up doing with this, like some extra pocket change to do things like that. But you're kind of mentioning wide receivers complaining about getting more touches.
Huh.
That's not new.
Yeah, it's weird. Weird I picked that position group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all in all, it's a good thing, because here's the thing. Everyone's doing it anyways, right? Everyone's posting their highlights anyways. This gives you an opportunity to get paid off of it. I don't think there's a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll just say the technology, like how it's supposed to flow and function, seems really cool.
Yeah.
Seems innovative. I'm a fan of that.
Innovative and seems seamless and simple for the guys.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm really intrigued to see how it goes. I would assume that there's going to be quite a few Pac-12 players enrolled in that program, but we'll see how many guys it ends up being. All right,
Well,
one
I
last
imagine
thing.
everyone else is going to have to do it too, though, right?
You would
Like,
think.
if Pac-12 players are getting paid off their highlights on social media, every other conference, you feel like if you're not, and that turns into a big thing where guys are making big money, that's a recruiting tool.
That turns into a media rights discussion, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, what does the Big 12 own versus how the Pac 12 operates, you know, with its third tier rights and all that stuff? Like, I don't know enough about that to know if the SEC can just do that right away. You know what I mean?
Well, and not to get in the weeds too much, but on the Pac-12 deal, it doesn't sound like they're giving them the rights to the to the highlight, they're just allowing them to source it from their page and get revenue like for the views there. It's not as if they own it and no one can put that highlight anywhere else. At least that's how I look at it. But yes, there's definitely those issues are built in.
Yeah.